Craig Howe, S9 Radio. Today we're going to look at a problem that plagues many Browning transmitters, and that is channel selector slop. Now, even if this slop in the channel selector doesn't bother you, this is a problem you want to get after pretty quick on Brownings. The reason being is Browning uses a solid copper bus wire for their connection to the channel selector switch, and as you can see, this little bit of slop induces quite a bit of fatigue to that wire. As a matter of fact, that's a repair that's pretty routine on these radios. Now, common sense would lead one to believe that the fix is something as simple as tightening up some locking hardware, adding an inner tooth washer. Well, it's seldom that easy. More often than not, it's this piece of metal on the channel selector switch that fatigues with age. There's a crimp that is used, and that crimp or swedge, after repeated use, tends to loosen up, and then this slop occurs. On some Browning transmitters, you may find it easier to remove the entire front panel. It's really not that difficult, a tiny bit time-consuming. Of course, on all of the Brownings, you'll need to remove the two channel selector mounting bracket screws underneath, which I've already done. Of course, loosen the plastic channel selector. That allows one to slip this out. And some of you may have to unsolder the wire prior to that. This one's got pretty good service loops. But let me show you. This is almost always the cause of the channel selector slop. As you can see, the locking hardware is tight, yet look at the movement in the channel selector. And that movement is coming from this swedge right here, if you can see that. And there's a swedge on the other side of that lock nut. And that is the culprit. That is the cause of the slop. We're going to remove this bracket, clean up the hardware a little bit, giving the metal what we call tooth. That allows the JB weld that I'm going to put in there a little better gripping surface, providing for a long-lasting repair. I always like to take a scribe and just make a scribe mark, just kind of as an index. In this case, that scribe is a little bit hard to see, so I think we'll use a Sharpie pen and just kind of mark our progress, helping reassembly. For those of you that have a 1/2 inch deep socket, that is the proper size for this. Those of you that don't, pliers are okay. And as you can see, that hardware was good and tight. Once again, just proving this swedge is indeed the culprit. So, we're taking this somewhat semi-smooth surface. It probably has some old tarnish and contaminants, and just kind of roughen it up. I wouldn't use sandpaper just because you don't want that garnet getting into the movement to the channel selector switch. I'm just using a dental scribe. So once we've got it all nice and scuffed up, go ahead and brush off the metal shavings. Once again, I don't recommend using sandpaper for this. That garnet grit or whatever type of grit you're using, probably not a great thing to get into the channel selector. Neither are the metal filings that I've just shaved off. So go ahead and give it a brush, a blow, and I think you'll be okay. You can see it's just lightly been roughed up, and these are the actual swedge areas here that it's important to force this. JB Weld is the product we'll be using, by the way. I really like this product for this application. It's actually got some metallic component to it, really toughening it up. So we'll be mixing equal parts of the JB Weld. See, I'm working my way around the mounting shaft of the channel selector with the JB Weld, being careful not to get it above the gland nut and into the threaded portion. It's had a little over a 72-hour cure time. We've still got the index marks here that are going to aid in the reassembly. First we'll have the inner tooth washer that goes down, and we'll have the mounting bracket. Now you want to try to pay attention to look for the old marks of the old positioning. You know, this will save you some trial and error on getting the height adjustment correct on the channel selector mounting bracket. And of course I've got the blue index mark here to line things up. So we'll put that to where it looks like the old hardware was kind of rubbing down on it. Get the index mark lined up fairly close. And I'm going to go ahead and snug this down pretty good. Okay, now that the channel selector bracket has been tightened down and we're pretty much done torquing on the channel selector, I highly advise redoing that solder connection right there. And if the wire has really been fatigued, strip the wire back and thread some new fresh wire through there that will take solder a lot better. So now we'll go ahead and slide the channel selector shaft through the channel indicator dial. And we'll flip the radio upside down. We'll install the two channel selector bracket screws placed right over where the existing hardware came out. This will save you a lot of alignment issues if you pay close attention to that during the reassembly. Back together, aligned, and look at that. Very solid detents. No more back and forth slop. No more fatigue on the wire as we're rotating the channel selector. Problem solved. Thank you, JB Weld. Alright, you guys. Greg Howe, S9 Radio, signing off.